It feels like just yesterday, maybe back in 2023, Sam Altman was talking about this idea of a one-person billion-dollar company.
Yeah, I remember that. Seemed pretty out there at the time.
Totally. But here we are, 2025, and, well, it's starting to look less like science fiction. We're actually seeing the beginnings of it.
It's really fascinating. And the kind of companies popping up are, well, they're different. Super lean.
Lean is the word. Not these huge corporations we're used to, right? Like minimal sales teams, minimal marketing.
Uh-huh. No big HR department, not even tons of specialized engineers, which it's kind of counterintuitive.
Exactly. But they're pulling in serious revenue. It seems like they're just really smart about using, well, machines. AI mostly.
It turns that whole fear narrative on its head, doesn't it? We went
Yeah.
from robots are taking our jobs to,
To AI can seriously amplify what one person or a small team can do. It's less about automation replacing us, more about augmenting our own ingenuity.
and the crucial thing, the real dividing line that seems to be emerging from all this. It isn't just education or, deep specialization anymore.
What is it then?
It seems to be this quality called agency.
Agency. Okay, let's unpack that a bit. It sounds a little academic.
Maybe. But in practice, it's pretty straightforward.
Right.
It's just that determination, that willingness to act without waiting for someone to tell you it's okay.
Right. No need for explicit permission or step-by-step instructions.
Exactly. Think about the AI tools themselves, the agents we talk about in tech. Even the smartest ones are still reactive, mostly. They need input, instructions.
They wait to be told. But the people making the biggest impact, they're not waiting.
Mm-hmm. They see something, a problem or an opportunity, and they just do something about it. There's that great line, you can just do things.
I like that. You can poke life and something will pop out the other side. It's about being willing to try, to experiment.
And we see examples, right, that sources mentioned, like a VC starting an AI lab without the usual PhD background.
Or that gaming guy who pivoted to military tech. Pretty big jump.
Huge jump. Or the fintech CEO who basically kicked off the whole private space race. These weren't people following a set path.
They had agency. But, I mean, driven people have always existed, haven't they? What's different now?
Well, yeah, they've always been around. But historically, their impact might have been limited by just how much specialized knowledge you needed.
Ah, okay. Like the practicalities. I remember trying to build a simple website, like a basic digital product, years ago. It took me, gosh, 9 months, just learning enough to get something basic out.
Right. And even then, you're probably not an expert coder and a designer and a marketer. Specialization created these sort of local monopolies on skill.
Which is why society leans so heavily on credentials, right? Getting the degree, getting the job, climbing that ladder.
Exactly. And why things like college tuition just kept going up and up. Everyone was chasing those specialized skills because that was the perceived path.
But now at AI, it feels like it's throwing a wrench in the works. A big one.
It's definitely a catalyst, a real phase shift, you could say.
Yeah.
Because suddenly, for some tasks, the years you needed to practice, well, a tool like ChatGPT can get you a surprisingly long way.
That 9 months I spent, maybe now it's, what, a week? A few days for a similar level of output, maybe even better.
Potentially, yeah,
Yeah.
for certain things. Now, of course, people are skeptical. AI makes mistakes. It hallucinates.
Sure, it's not perfect, so specialization isn't totally dead.
No, not at all. It's more nuanced. It seems like its importance is becoming bimodal, depending on the risk involved.
Bimodal, okay, explain that. High risk versus low risk.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Think about areas where failure is catastrophic. Defense systems, healthcare, launching rockets, complex biological research.
Even developing the next generation of AI itself, right? You need checks and balances.
Exactly. In those high-stakes fields, you absolutely still need deep human expertise. You need accountability. It's like we could have fully automated planes maybe, but we still want human pilots.
Gotcha. The ultimate responsibility needs to lie with a person.
Precisely. But then there's this huge other category of work. Most jobs, probably. Where if the AI messes up, you can just iterate. You try again.
Lower stakes, like drafting marketing copy or analyzing some sales data, maybe designing a website layout.
Or even areas like basic financial modeling, education tools, counseling support, architectural concepts. In these fields, the cost of an error is manageable. And that's where we're seeing massive disruption.
Because people without the traditional 5 or 10 years of specialized experience can jump in, use the tools, and achieve really good results.
And the tools are getting better so fast. It wasn't long ago AI was just doing basic code completion. Now it can map out entire projects, understand huge code bases.
Wow, so the winning strategy is changing too. It's less about knowing every single tiny detail.
And more about understanding the big picture, the architecture, how things fit together. That's where, generalists often shine. They can see the connections.
We're seeing those lines blur everywhere, aren't we? Product managers doing financial models.
Designers writing ad copy.
I even saw examples like a barbershop building its own booking system, or a restaurant owner creating a dynamic pricing tool.
Farmers using AI for crop tracking. These are people solving their own problems now because the tools make it feasible. They always had the ideas, maybe, but not the means.
Which leads directly to this idea, individuals basically running whole companies.
Yeah, the data shows a big jump in solo founder startups. And you have people like Henri Shi at super.com being very open about targeting that billion-dollar revenue mark, just him.
And Midjourney, right. Tiny team, massive impact in revenue. Their revenue per employee is apparently comparable to, like, Apple or something.
It points to a fundamental shift in structure. You don't necessarily need the giant hierarchy anymore for certain kinds of success.
So if we boil it down, it's like credentialism is unraveling a bit.
That seems to be the trend. The competitive edge isn't just the degree or the years served. It's increasingly about that bias for action. Can you actually make it happen?
So the world model simplifies. It becomes almost binary. You either have that agency, that drive, or you don't operate as effectively in this new way.
That might be a slightly stark way to put it, but yeah, that's the direction things seem to be heading. Agency becomes paramount.
Now, obviously this won't happen overnight. There's going to be resistance.
Well, for sure. Institutions built on credentials, middle management structures, they have inertia. Change is hard.
And there are downsides to the one-person company model too, right? Like, what happens if that person gets sick? No redundancy. Potential chaos.
Absolutely. Scalability issues, key person risk, those are real challenges. But their speed, their adaptability, driven by that high agency individual plus AI, that's a powerful competitive force.
But the hopeful part of this, maybe the most important part, especially thinking about, you listening, is that agency isn't fixed.
Exactly. It's not like eye color. It's a mindset. It's learnable.
It's about freeing yourself from perceived limits. Like, oh, I can't do that. I don't have the degree, or I don't have 10 years of experience in X.
Right. It's challenging those assumptions. It reminds me of that bit in The Matrix.
Yeah.
Right. When Morpheus asks Neo, do you think that's air you're breathing now? It's about realizing the constraints might be self-imposed, or at least more flexible than you thought, believing you have the freedom to act.
Okay, so let's bring this home for our listeners, particularly those in public service. This idea of individual agency, it's getting supercharged by AI.
Massively amplified. Your potential to initiate change, to make a difference, is arguably greater than ever before.
So the question becomes, how do you, in your role serving Canadians, start to cultivate and use that high agency mindset?
Where are the opportunities, maybe small ones at first, to just act, to improve a process, to try a new approach, maybe without waiting for the full formal go-ahead if it's within reason?
And can you start thinking more like an architect? Seeing the bigger picture of the service or policy and using AI tools to maybe bridge gaps where you don't have deep specialized knowledge yourself?
How do we encourage this within teams? Foster a culture where trying things, solving problems proactively is valued even within the structures we have.
Because maybe, just maybe, some of those bureaucratic barriers we all know, maybe they're a bit more permeable now than we assume.
It's worth considering. So here's a final thought to leave you with. In this world where one person's positive impact can scale so dramatically, what seemingly impossible improvement could you start working towards for Canadians just by embracing that agency?